Ta-da! Did you ever get to meet George Lucas?
Yeah. I mean, a couple times I took the opportunity, right?
Holy shit.
You inevitably like cut him off in line going to get the buffet or like and so it's like, well, Mom, I'm transgender. And she's like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Transformers. Pow! This was like long before Bruce Jenner. I mean, in that sense, you're old school. In this sense, also.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Ta-da! Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
So, today we have Marissa Martinez with us.
Hi. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm all good. I think we've met in Stockholm at the Scandinavia Death Fest, right?
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
We met briefly in the bar. I think in Nuclear Assault and Birdflesh and some other people. Yeah,
it was great. That was an amazing fest. It was my first time in Stockholm too, so we made sure to like have a whole week there, and spend a lot of time with our friends, like Ade and UK and an assortment of others. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was your favorite part of being a tourist in Stockholm?
Oh wow. Let's see. I mean, the pubs are awesome, right? Like British Arms, Bishop's Arms, rather. Bishop's Arms it was so great. Black and Brown. But just seeing the history that's there, right? I mean, just super old buildings. Different. So like in America, there's a lot of Art Deco all over the place, right? And there's like none of that in Stockholm, right? So like the architecture itself is very unique. Gamlastan is pretty cheesy because it's really touristy, but it's also really cool because it's just these cobblestone streets that you can walk down, And there's some really good restaurants there. We made sure to visit the Vasa and the main Stockholm, I can't remember the name, but the big main museum that's there that had that 1989 exhibit at the time. And we went to the palace, walked around Parliament a bit, saw the big outdoor mall.
Yeah.
Just the same as like anywhere else in the world. But yeah, it was a blast. I mean, it was really good. And one of the things that I loved about Stockholm is that I didn't have any fear walking down the street. Now, maybe that's just ignorant of me, but like, I don't know. It just felt like people kind of kept to their own anyway. And things were just a little bit more calm than they are in America, where so much of daily life is like this zero-sum game of like, what can I get and be mine and protect mine and my family and my, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel that in Stockholm. Maybe it's there. I just didn't happen to feel it. And I was also typically surrounded by a bunch of friends when it wasn't just my husband and I walking around. So, we had a rat pack to keep us safe, I guess. But it was really cool.
Yeah. That's really cool to hear. So Stockholm was a good experience. I mean, if you would have asked me, I would have guessed that except from Gamla Stan and all the cheesy stuff, I guess you would have said like, yeah, we visited the Entomb, the classic cross, and we visited the Grey of June, Nötveit of the dissection, and like stuff like
I
this.
mean, we definitely made it out to the big Entombed cross. I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not going to even try to say it.
Skogskirkegarden.
I can say it if I practice.
Skogskyrkogården.
So, I'm out of practice right now. So,
like my English.
Okay, great. No, I mean, we definitely had to do that. But really, I mean, it was just like spending a lot of time with friends and just, seeing an environment, that wasn't our own. That was the most important part to us. So, when it did come down to finally getting to the fest and seeing the shows and everything, I mean, that was just more. The performances were great, but it always comes down to all that time huddled together after or before the performances that really kind of make the festival, I think. Yeah. It was great seeing everybody out there. I mean, from Ryan and Evan who put it on to you guys, to General Surgery, which are really good friends. Fred is a really cool guy from Dismember. I don't really know any of the other members, but I don't know why I'm name dropping. I'm just I'm just chattering. I mean, like cool. That's what it comes down to, though, right? Is like the personal experience, interactions that you have, like really kind of make festivals, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the people that you met and like the whole atmosphere, you can just watch the gigs on YouTube. I mean, it's the whole surrounding, the smells, the food, the chats, all this, and of course the bars.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you felt safe in Stockholm. I mean, do you feel unsafe in the United States when you're walking down the street?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, not because I'm afraid of the next mass shooting that's going to happen, like, you know what I mean? But even though I'm in the Bay Area, which is a very progressive area, being a trans woman in America isn't a safe thing in general. No. So, I try to keep a stiff upper lip and walk down the street like I'm not full of anxiety, but I am, right? I mean, when it comes down to it. So I worry about my own safety all the time. Not so much in the last 9 months because I haven't really left this room.
Yeah.
So that makes everything kind of easier. But, when I'm out and about, or, when I have to commute in public transportation to get to work, my husband isn't with me for that, right? I'm full of, watching my surroundings and making sure nobody's marking me or wanting to attack me for just merely existing.
Holy shit! I can't even imagine how that would feel. I'm a big guy and I don't I don't know. I've never been inflicted by that. Yeah. So exactly. I gave you a short presentation. I think we will talk more. First, just summing it up. You're a transgender woman. You work at VR at LucasArts, Star Wars shit. We're gonna get into that. That's fucking awesome as well. And you play guitar in Cretin. You also sing, and you have toured with Napalm Death, Cannibal Corpse. Fucking awesome. I mean, that's what I know about you. I know that I met you at Scandinavia Death Fest. We have probably met at Maryland Death Fest. My memory isn't what it should be. How would you describe yourself as a human being or like a person in general?
As a human being, wow. I'm a spoiled brat because I'm an only child. I probably talk too much and am too outspoken. But I'm definitely an idealist, with progressive leanings. I've made mistakes in life like everyone has, but I feel like I'm, trying to do my best to do best for society and myself. And, I have my hobbies, obviously, which is Star Wars and death metal and grindcore, and I pursue those. Star Wars as my career and music, as I don't want to say hobby, but I don't count on it to make money or make a living, right? So it's, a part of me. And it's something I've been very fortunate to be able to, have achievements in, and have friends who have helped me to, make albums or give me opportunities to play in their bands, or, even just practice together and learn and grow, in music. My career, it's a little different because, I did some schooling and then worked for 20 years to learn stuff. But I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling. I don't have any direction here, but
that's the point.
yeah, I ramble.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's you talking, and it's to me it's very interesting, for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that sums up who I am. I don't think. Apparently, I'm carrying around a lot of anxiety as well, I guess, like I said.
Who isn't?
But, the outspokenness and strong-willedness, I guess, kind of make up for it.
Yeah. So, if we start from the beginning, your interest in grindcore and death metal, where did it all begin? Like, what was your first experience with this form of music, and what was the first gigs that you saw, bands, stuff like that?
My first gig that I ever went to was Weird Al.
Oh, that's weird.
It was amazing, right? Like, all the costume changes, like, super quick, and just like all the funny coming at you, like, constantly. It was really great, right? It's almost like a Birdflesh show.
Yeah.
I was skateboarding at the time in like the late 80s, early 90s. And we'd build a half pipe at a friend's house, and then like always hang out at that house, right? Because that's where our ramp was, and that's where we did what we loved. And there were brothers there, and they were all into music while we were into skateboarding, and they were a very musical family. And one day, one of my friends, Kirk True was his name, came home with a Metallica CD, right, or tape, and put that on, and it was just like, whoa, what is this? Like, I didn't really care about music before then. Like, I always had some sort of musical interest in my life, because my dad was a guitar player in an old, like, kind of funk rock band called the Underground Railroad back in the 70s. And he died when I was 5, and I inherited his guitar. So I grew up my whole life, like, hearing about how great my dad was and how great of a musician he was, and how much like him I am. All this stuff to live up to that just kind of carried through my life. So when it got to that point of, like, suddenly there was a musical interest, and it was so guitar driven, it was like, oh, this is perfect, right? So I got that guitar from my grandparents because they were holding it for me. And it's an old 1968 Gibson SG. So it even had like the rock look, and I started learning how to play Metallica songs on it. I mean, that's really where it started. And so for years, I was like pretty much a thrash metal band, a thrash metal fan. Like, I didn't know about death metal really. And it wasn't until Matt Widener, the bass player for Cretin, however we want to say it, he was an old friend from like elementary school, and he was playing bass, and he was like, hey, I want to start, I heard you play guitar, I want to start playing in a metal kind of thing with people. Well, he wanted to play death metal and grindcore. He was into it. Like, he had, Reek of Putrefaction and Symphonies of Sickness, and he was like, he's always been this huge horror fan, so he loves like things that disgust him and freak him out. So, he got into like the early, grindcore stuff. I mean, we got into it a little late, I think, really, right? Because we started high school in 89. So, I mean, that was the year, right, when all those, like, Napalm and Carcass and everybody was like releasing their kind of, I don't want to say pinnacle albums, but like for the time it was their pinnacle albums, right? And so he was the one who was like, yeah, this thrash stuff is cool, but how about this stuff? And so he would play me some Carcass or whatnot, and I would be like, what the fuck is going on? Like this is well, yeah, that guitar riff is kind of like, Megadeth or something, but the vocals are so weird, like it's hard to listen to, right? And I did not get it at first, like at all. And even like with Obituary, it was like, okay, I almost get it with Obituary, which was like a little bit more, kind of just in the pocket death metal that you could like go from thrash, like they're a good gateway, right? Even with them, I was just like, what the hell? And then one day we were driving around and it just clicked. Like all of a sudden, like we were listening to Eaten Back to Life from Cannibal Corpse, and it was just like, no, we're driving around. It was like, no, turn this up. Like this is, put down all the windows, turn this up. Let's scare the shit out of everyone around us, right? And we just loved it at that moment. From that moment on, like then I got it. So finally, we went to, I think it was both Widener and my first death metal show, and it was a package gig, and with Malevolent Creation, Cannibal Corpse, Agnostic Front, and Obituary.
Oh, a great lineup.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it was like the first day of our senior year of high school. It was like the day before it. And so our first day was pretty like, we were tired as hell. We didn't drink yet, but we were pretty wrecked. And we went to the show, and a local band called Colostomy opened the show. That their bass player was Dan Fenton, who plays in Decapitator with Matt Harvey and Cole Jones from back, Exhumed alumni. So everyone was close knit back then in the local death metal scene, except Widener and I, who lived out in the mountains. But we go to the show and Colostomy's opening. It was like, wow, this is really cool. Like it's people like our age up there playing this. It sounds like the stuff that, we like on album, it's like a local band that's doing it. They had this really cool drummer who had like a lot of jazz technique to his stuff, even though they were playing pretty much like just kind of almost Obituary type death metal, like pretty mid-paced, and I don't know how, I think you know what I'm saying. And Cole jumps up on stage, and they close their show, and Cole jumps up on stage, and back then he used to wear these weird shorts. They're really long shorts that his mom would make him out of bed sheets. So they had like big Crayola crayons on them or something, right? So like, we're at this death metal show where people are like in their camo or their denim and their leathers and, and here's Cole with his long hair, but these goofy ass shorts, and he jumps up on stage to close their gig, and he just starts screaming like this high pitched scream, and it just descends into chaos and the show ends. And we were like, what the hell was that? Who was that guy? Like, that guy's crazy, right? And so that was like this sticking moment, like put a pin in that, right? Because years later, or maybe not even years later, but months later, we would actually see Exhumed, right? And meet and become really good friends with Cole and Harv and everyone from Exhumed. But that was that first moment where we saw it. And then it opens up into the show where, you had the touring bands playing and just like, the way they were headbanging and how the bass players were like playing like this, like we were just like glued to it. Wider and I were in the front, like, oh, and look at that, and look at that. And like we were just learning and absorbing everything that was going on at that show, right? And we walked away from it just like, yeah, that's what we want to do. Back then, in our senior year of high school, yeah, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be musicians, touring, doing that every night, and that was going to be the coolest shit ever, right?
And what was the first album that your friend showed you, the Metallica album?
Oh, man. It was either Injustice for All or Garage Days We Revisited.
Yeah.
Because it was like 88, 89, right?
Yeah.
When I was entering my teen years and caring about music and skateboarding and stuff like that.
Right before the turning point of the band.
Yeah, right at it, right? Yeah, definitely. But I don't know, like I still love And Justice for All.
Yeah.
Garage Days Revisited is like a really, I mean, it's a covers album, but you wouldn't know it. You know what I mean? It's so well done. Like, I could listen to that stuff. The first 4 albums from Metallica, and then they're flawless to me.
I mean, I'm very happy when I found that album because I would probably not have had Diamond Head in my record collection today if I hadn't listened to that. So I mean, Lightning to the Nations, it's one of the, I mean that release is so strong. Mm-hmm. I really really enjoy that band. I mean, there are tons of other bands on that album I wouldn't have found if it wasn't for Metallica paying respect to their influences. So
yeah,
grateful for that. And I mean, as you say, you wouldn't even think of that it was a cover album if you wouldn't have known.
Yeah, no, it sounded like so in line. I think Harv is the one who said like Metallica's the best cover band that ever existed.
Yeah. Thank you, Metallica.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot there that kind of started all of this rolling, you know, with Metallica. So yeah, definitely. Thank you, Metallica.
Yeah, and it's a pretty typical story that when you start to play guitar, I mean, almost all of my friends that play guitar start by playing Metallica songs. I mean, it's made for guitar, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and they exercise like every technique that you need to know, right? I mean, or that you would want to know until you get into like guitar virtuoso stuff that's like mind blowing and using like effects processors like crazy as well as technique. Like the basics of like metal guitar is in the Metallica, you know, catalog. Like it's all there, from, you know, your down picking to speed picking to alternate picking to finger picking, you know. And even Kirk like does some sweeps in there when he's like soloing and tapping and whammying, you know. So it's like it's Guitar 101 turned into like some pretty killer albums. Like it's kind of amazing.
Who would you say is your biggest inspiration as a guitar player?
Well, it's different, right? Because like there's rhythm guitar playing and then there's like lead guitar playing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for rhythm guitar playing, it's probably Matt Olivo, right? Because like I play really similar to how, you know, the Repulsion guys played. And when I, you know, I was putting in all this practice and learning how to play guitar and stuff, and then when I finally figured out that Repulsion like kind of playing, I was like, oh, this is the groove. Like I can do this, right? Just keep my hand going and trim pick these power chords and whatnot. Like, so I would say, you know, for rhythm guitar, it's really Matt Olivo. But for lead guitar, I've always really, really liked Kirk Hammett. Like I know maybe he's underrated from my perspective, but you know, because he's not the big like Yngwie Malmsteen or you know what I mean, like Steve Vai or like crazy, but he's made guitar solos that you can sing.
Yeah.
Right? You walk away and like if you're humming a Metallica song in your head, you'll start humming the guitar solo too, because he plays with melodies so well and phrasing. And then keeping it kind of bluesy and whatnot. Like I've always really just aspired like Kirk Hammett, you know, like that's in the pocket to me. Like,
and that's really cool that you actually say like that. I mean, when you listen to Yngwie Malmsteen, it isn't that catchy. You remember a Kirk Hammett solo the first time you heard it, and the next time you can actually like sing it with notes, you know.
Right.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I actually never thought about it. I mean, except from Lars. I mean, Kirk is the next guy who gets the most shit in Metallica, I guess.
You think so?
Yeah, isn't he? I mean,
Kirk aside from Lars? I don't know.
Lars, I mean, like it should have been Lars, like shirts and.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe I understood you the other way. Yeah, Lars definitely gets the most shit.
Yeah. Okay. We just misunderstood each other. The Swinglish.
Yeah. No, Lars gets the most shit. I think, James probably gets the second most shit.
Oh, really?
I would say so, right? I mean, like his voice changed, right, for the Black album, and then boom, like the fans like went nuts, right? Like, no, this is not good anymore. What happened to Metallica, right? It's all James's fault now. You know what I mean? Like, he's the riff machine. Like, we're the riffs. I don't know. I mean, we could definitely, depending on who you're talking to, there's probably arguments to be had here. But yeah, I would say that James gets the second most shit. Plus, his conservative stuff and he wants to be a hunter, like hunting wild animals and stuff. Like, I mean, there's stuff. It's like, all right,
yeah,
he's a conservative, and
And you prefer vegan or vegetarian food, or?
No, I'm very much a carnivore, but I don't go hunting wild game for fun.
For fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Just turn a blind eye and buy the hot dog instead.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking with it. It's fine.
I mean, maybe that makes me chicken shit that I don't go shoot my own food, but like.
Yeah, but I can totally see that people bash on someone if they say that they like to hunt. I mean, who would like to say, yeah, I like to kill animals? It doesn't really fit in the mouth,
Yeah.
What are you up to, Dahmer?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of fitting in the mouth.
Yeah. Ooh. Holy shit. About your creative side, when are you the most creative? Is like night, daytime? If you're sad or happy, or?
I mean, honestly, I'm the most creative when I have time, and when it's like kind of sunny and nice out. Like I remember always hearing the death metal people like, I like gloomy weather because it helps me be gloomy, and like when things are shit, that's when I can write the best, and blah blah blah. And yeah, I've never been that way. Like, I like it when the birds are singing and it's sunny out and kind of nice out, and I just have time to sit there and noodle on something or work on something. Like that's usually when I think I can get my ideas out more clearly. But when I'm stressed out or trying to get something done is usually when things get done.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you when you tell me that you like to write when the sun is up and the birds are singing, you're living in San Francisco, right?
Yeah. Well, in the Bay Area. I'm in Oakland right now.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we saw each other at California Death Fest also then.
Yeah, we probably did. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the sun is shining almost every day, right? I mean, that must mean that you write a whole lot of music. How many hours per week do you play?
Actually, I haven't been playing at all since doing the Extremity albums.
All right.
I practice a little bit here and there. Every now and then I'll get a little bug like late at night and just pick up my guitar and start noodling on it. But I haven't really been playing lately. I've been focusing on my career mostly.
Yeah.
And especially with work from home, it means that like, I don't have a commute. So if things go late into the night with work, like it's fine because I'm here. I'm already home. I don't have to worry about getting home to see my husband, and dinner's right there and whatever, right? So in a way it's good, in a way it's bad. Like you want to have a work-life balance. Working 15-hour days like isn't a good idea to do too much. But I mean, even just working 10-hour days or whatnot, I've been just trying to put kind of my all into work lately.
Yeah.
Into my career. I say into my career, but that's weird because it's like I don't plan on going to another company or job or something. Like I'm in the job that I really want to be doing. So I'm just trying to find new ways of doing that job better and better, and just building on it.
Before I ask you more about your job, about the guitar playing, do you still feel that like you evolve as a guitar player, or do you just write new stuff? Do you see the difference? I mean, do you get faster? Do you learn new licks and sweeps, and do you evolve like that, or is it just I had a melody and I'm gonna play it? You know
yeah, it's pretty much the latter. Like I have a melody and I'm gonna play it. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I don't do a lot of exploration or anything. Like you know, I'm 45. I'm kind of set in my ways. Like so you know what I think is good or makes a good song is kind of already there. You know, and if a new thing comes along, it's usually because one of my band members like introduced it. You know, like especially for Cretin, when it comes to just laying down the foundation and the bedrock of the music there, that's pretty much what I do. Like Cole always said, like when Widener brings a new song to us, I never know what I'm going to get, but I always know what I'm going to get when you bring us the song, Marissa. Yeah, because I just do that, you know, like that standard. I try to, you know, do a different melody or a different rhythm or something like that, but it's all kind of within this, you know, this style, if you will, this like kind of Repulsion, Cretin, Carnival kind of style, you know.
But are you guys still rehearsing with Cretin, or should we say Cretin or Cretin?
Right, you say it any way you want. I mean, we always called it Cretin, but I think we were just mispronouncing it, right? Because like I actually looked it up, and it, you know, phonetically is supposed to be Cretin. So
yeah, I mean, Cretin isn't the word Cretin like something wrong in the genes, and like you're getting a hunchback and small, and you know.
I mean, I read it as like a slovenly, strange person.
Cretin, a stupid person, used as a general term of abuse.
Okay, maybe it's used like that, but I actually think it's like a medical term in also by
Cretin, a person who is physically deformed and has learning difficulties because of congenital thyroid deficiency.
Yeah, I mean it's all of that, right? It's the whole. To me, it's like the whole House of Freaks pantheon, right? Kind of thing.
Therefore, freakery, the cover art, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fucking awesome. And you released 2 albums with Cretin. You released Freakery and Stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Freakery was 2006, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then 8 years later, Stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes us a while. So we don't jam regularly at all, you know. We don't rehearse regularly at all, and every now and then I'll start piecing together some songs and then say, hey, let's rehearse these songs, right? And then that will inspire Widener, like, oh, Marissa's already written 3 songs, so now I gotta write, you know, some songs. And it kind of just starts this, you know, kind of snowball effect, and so we end up with an album, and then that album's done, and life unfolds, and we get distracted with that for a while. I mean, between Freakery and Stranger, Freakery was really important to me because pretty much all my young adult life, you know, my parents were like, you keep doing this music thing, but it's not going to do anything. You would have done something by now if it was ever going to take off. So here we go, like at the age of 30, here it is, an album. We did an album, and it's on a label. You know, we were signed to a label, and it's the full thing.
Yeah.
So to me, that was like this really monumentous, almost impossible accomplishment, was to put out an album and have it signed, right? And it got me thinking of like, you know, what is this other impossible idea that's been going on in the back of my head? And that was that I'm trans. And so it kind of really inspired me to go ahead and pursue, you know, therapy and transition. And it led me down that path of transition. Well, once I started transitioning, that really became everything. Like there was no room to practice guitar. Like I had to like figure myself out and relearn how to do everything, and exist and keep working and, you know, not lose support of everyone around me and my house and my, you know, career and everything. So it became all encompassing. So there was a big chunk of time from when we released Freakery to before I could even begin to start working on Stranger. There just was no mental room for it, right?
What year did you make your transition?
So 2006 released Freakery. By 2007, so May of 2006 we released Freakery, right? By July of 2007 I started taking hormones, doing the hormone replacement therapy. So and in order to get the hormones, you have to have gone through, I think it was 3 to 6 months of therapy, like counseling with a psychologist before you could even get that prescribed, because of the way the American rules work. And so, and then even to get it prescribed, like, I mean, I needed this note and, you know, I needed it to be serious and then, you know, and deemed serious by the psychologist. So that's when that started, was about 2007. And by, you know, 2009, I had all of my surgeries and everything completed. You know, the therapy was completed and all of that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through, getting all your paperwork changed, and you know, again, like I said, just reestablishing yourself. And I was very fortunate that my family didn't abandon me, you know, and my friends all supported me. A lot of trans people's stories don't go that way. So I had a big support system, you know, and then my job, you know, Lucasfilm was always really progressive. George himself, you know, is an anthropologist when he first started going to college. So that's why he always has these like really human kind of elements within his stories, even though they're these huge, fantastic things. He's always pressing on something, you know, like, because he has that world consciousness of, you know, awareness of diversity. And that was supported throughout Lucasfilm. So again, I was very fortunate that I had all the support through work, and, you know, I was covered medically through work. They gave me the time off that I needed to heal from surgeries and whatnot. So that took a big chunk of time.
What was your biggest scare when it came to this? I mean, if we like put it in perspective, I mean, friendships and like relationships and let's say work. Like, what was your biggest scare about this?
I mean, every time, there was a number of them, but every time I came out to somebody, it was kind of a big scare, right? In particular, coming out to Matt Widener, who's my best friend, and we've been friends since elementary school. But he didn't even really blink. Like, he was like, oh, I always kind of suspected anyway. I was like, what the hell? Like, I didn't think anybody suspected this, right? So then it was like, well, that went really well, you know? But then I was scared to come out to Matt Harvey and Cole Jones, even though, you know, we're all really, really close, great friends. But they were like, yeah, you know, they didn't suspect it for me. They were like, whoa, you know, I hope you're going to be okay. But we're your friends. We're not going anywhere. And we've had exposure to trans people before, so it doesn't really freak us out either. And I was just like, oh, man, wow, you know? But then, it came down to having to come out to my mom. And like I said, my dad died when I was 5. So my mom and I have this very special kind of relationship, having gone through something like that. You know, even though she remarried and whatnot. And you know, it has been with my stepdad ever since. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but basically, like, I was afraid of crushing my mom's, like, heart or expectations or whatever, you know. who her, her image of her son and blah, 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 and it wasn't easy. Like coming out to her was like really, really difficult. But the first phone call, I knew it. There's all these suggestions that they make. Like if you're going to come out to your parents, write a letter and then rewrite it and then rewrite it, and then maybe submit it. And then you submit it by letter and then, wait for them to reply to you, with an invitation to reply, or if it's too much time has gone by, then maybe reach out or something.
Yeah, so they don't act on their like first reaction or like first feeling.
Like if you just go to their house and like go, this is how it is, like that could be a really bad. They could have a really bad reaction, or suggest emails or whatever. And so I tried writing a letter. I suck at writing letters. I suck at anything like really overly sentimental too. Like I'm bad at like accepting compliments or even like giving them and having them sound genuine. Like
you're awesome.
A lot of times they'll sound sarcastic, and then I'm like, I didn't mean it to sound like that, like nice beard. No, really,
It's much easier to give a compliment than get one from another person, right?
No, I have a hard time either way. Like it sucks. I don't know why. I try my best, but like I just start fumbling over my words, and it goes on too long, and it becomes awkward, and it's like, what are you trying to say? So I suck at giving compliments. I'm sorry. So I was trying to write a letter, and I was like, I'm not writing a letter. This is not going to work. And then I was like, all right, I'll reach out by email. And I was like, no, that's so cold, So finally I just got to my wit's end, and I was like, fuck it. And I just called my mom, and I was on the phone with her, like just rambling about like, well, there's something going on with me and I don't know how to say it and blah, blah, blah. And I just kept going on like that ambiguously. And she was like, all right, look, stop. Because now I'm totally freaking out. Like, what's going on? Like, because I couldn't get there to tell her, And so it's like, well, Mom, I'm transgender. And she's like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Transformers?
Pow! Yeah, we didn't really have, language for it at that time, right? I mean, it was 2006, 2007, and things were just starting to like open up as far as like trans issues becoming some kind of known, spoken about, social awareness kind of topic, right?
Yeah, exactly. This was like long before Bruce Jenner. I mean, in that sense, you're old school. In this sense, also.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But she was like, I explained it to her, and she was like, I can't believe you would ever think I would abandon you. No, I'm never going to abandon you, and blah, blah, blah. But so I had immediate support, got off the phone, felt tons better. And then we started corresponding by email, and it became clear, like immediately her, after we got off the phone, her brain started, turning, and she was like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And so she kind of repelled against the idea at first. And I had to, slowly introduce her to what it all meant and how it was going to work and how I'm still me and I'm still her child and I've always been here. And, you're not losing a son, you're gaining a daughter and all these kind of things. And, it took some doing, it took some effort, but then all of a sudden it kind of clicked for her, and she's just supported me ever since. My stepdad was a lot slower to come around. And it wasn't until I had gotten my bottom surgery that he was like, okay, well, I guess this is it now. You know what I mean? Like that just made it real for him. I don't know why. Like he's never seen it. Like I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Look.
Yeah. At least that's how it felt to me. Maybe from his perspective, he was on board way before then, but that's what it seemed like. Maybe that's true. Who knows? I forgot what the question was, but
no, I think we just talked about your biggest scare.
Scariness.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this whole conversation. So I mean, this is all the point. So we can derail how much we want.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, every first. I guess the moral of the story is every first is totally terrifying when you're trans, right? First time you step out of your house dressed as the opposite gender, dressed how you feel, you feel you should be dressing. The first time you show up at work, the first time, everything, right? The first time you go in for surgery, if you've never had surgery, that's scary, right? Especially when you're going to be in 11 hours of surgery where, they're suggesting you fill out a will and stuff in case you don't wake up from being put under. I mean, basically like every first just becomes terrible. The first time you're going to go on stage after, having played in a band as one way and now playing in the band as yourself. It's all terrifying. Like the first time you go to a show.
Yeah, I have to ask about that. Yeah, exactly. Like, what was the scene's reaction? I mean, do you feel that you got accepted like right away, or was it your own head that thought, people won't accept me, or did you actually feel that people didn't accept you in any way? And I don't mean at work and all this, but I mean like the metal scene, the extreme metal scene.
Yeah. I probably intentionally made it difficult because I kind of have this perception of like, well, if I'm making fun of myself, then you can't make fun of me already, right?
Yeah.
So I went like dressed in a latex catsuit and just like totally blown out with my makeup and everything. Like I was just like, if I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so at that, there was definitely people like, whoa, but people will probably do that anyway. Like no matter who showed up, just dressed in a latex catsuit, right? And with a bunch of makeup on and stuff at a metal show. Like that's not really the attire, right?
Yeah.
But I think it made people look at me as a spectacle, but then like just see it as that, and that was that, And I had a couple people come up to me, but and they'd be like, "Hey, you're that dude from Cretin, right?" And it's like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure. Like if that's how you want to say, you know what I mean? And it just kind of blew. Oh, okay, cool. And they walk away, and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
That was kind of a bigger show, like little local show. I mean, I had that a little bit every time I would go. There'd be a new audience and new people, and I could tell, eyes were on me, but I was always with a friend at least, so I felt safer. And I don't know, nobody confronted me. Nobody ever came up and was just like, "You freak," like.
Yeah.
Tried to assault me or anything like that, or even insult me that I knew of.
And when people came up to you and as you said that they say like you're the dude from Cretin. I mean, there is a big difference between being ignorant and being evil. If you catch my drift, I mean, people can be ignorant but very, very good-hearted. They just don't know any better.
Right.
I know a lot of old people in Sweden that still use words that to the younger generation, like if I would have said it or my friends would have said it to each other, it's like people would have pointed it out directly. But if my father says it, it's like, I know that you're a good-hearted person. I know that you don't have an evil bone in your fucking body. But I can still like, don't say that around others because people can find you more than ignorant. They just find you fucking evil here. That's ignorance, not evil,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like prevalence in society, sometimes that is evil, right? Like America has really been woken up to this division that we have right now, and that for some of us who consider ourselves progressive, we see that our history is rife with white supremacist movements that have always kind of taken control and not wanted to relinquish it as social norms have changed over the years, and it's something that we're really having to reconcile with now. But yeah, when a person is just coming up to me and they don't know the language, especially in a time where there wasn't a bunch of progressive language to describe trans people at all, and they're like, "You're that dude from Cretin, right?" And then they're like, "Okay, cool," and they walk on. Yeah, I mean, it's like, what are you going to do? I'm not going to give them a 30-minute lecture on how to speak to trans people or something. I mean, in some cases, I probably have done that in the past, but in general, you can tell when somebody is like insidious or when they're just trying to figure it out,
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's what I meant about it also. I mean, of course, ignorance, the product of ignorance is evil. Don't misunderstand me, but a person can be ignorant just because they don't know any better, and they don't, and people can think that they're evil because they say certain things, but they don't mean it like in a harmful way at all.
Right.
And I mean, you see them everywhere,
Yeah.
But when did you start doing shows again after the transition?
I think that was because Repulsion actually invited me to come up on stage and play the last two songs of their set.
Yeah.
And that was at the Fillmore in San Francisco at an At the Gates show where they had Repulsion open. So all of that was incredibly mind-blowing because I didn't expect that at all. But Cole was drumming for Repulsion at the time. Cretin obviously had our album out, and Scott and Matt knew about it, and they really dug it, and we all had become really good friends after we had played at Murder Fest in 2007 or something like that. No, 2006. It must have been like 2006, maybe 7. I don't know. But we had all become friends, and they, the Repulsion guys supported me as well, and so they were like, "Hey, we're playing this gig. If you'd like to come up and do a guest spot, that'd be cool." And I was just like, "No, but you're my favorite band of all time. Like, you made the best album of all time." And I went up and I did it, and it was freaking amazing. And for your first show to be at the Fillmore in San Francisco, and it was just nuts. Like, we had a dressing room with the mirror with the light bulbs all around it, and like fancy food, and the guys from At the Gates wanted to hang out, and it was just like, what the hell this is amazing. I don't know why I'm this lucky. But yeah, that was mind blowing. Stepping out on the stage and like a sea of heads, and it's like the first time coming back. And Cretin had never done anything too big as far as like playing gigs and whatnot. So going to the Fillmore, that's a huge step up, right?
And have your like favorite band of all time backing you up, like
pretty much.
I almost get tears in my eye. No, but it's fucking awesome, really.
And then I got to do it again at Maryland Death Fest in 2010.
Yeah. How many shows? I want to talk about the show in 2010 as well. But how many? You played with Repulsion for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
And how many shows did you do with?
It wasn't a ton, but was it like 3, 4? I don't know. They were all pretty big, though. I mean, like, so there were those guest spots, right? Where I just played the last 2 songs of their set.
Yeah. One
being at Maryland Death Fest to another sea of heads, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then we did this gig at the Roxy on the Sunset Strip, right? Which is that club like in Up in Smoke, the Cheech and Chong movie, like when they're playing the the song at the end, right? The Roxy is like this really well-known, really nice venue on the Sunset Strip, right next door to the Rainbow, which is like the pizza place that Lemmy always hung out at, right?
Yeah.
Bar. Okay. So it has this legacy, and it's fucking gorgeous place. And Scott called me up one day, and he was like, "Look, we've been asked by Scion to play this gig, and I don't want to play it unless you're going to be on second guitar for the whole gig." And I broke down crying because I was like, "You crazy? Like this is nuts, right?" I mean, I just lost it. So I started learning the songs and went and played the Roxy with Repulsion at this matinee show. You know, with Murphy's Law. I think we played with Murphy's Law, and I mean, it was just this dream come true. Like I love those songs so much, and I'm up on stage playing them. And again, you know, there's these audiences there that are just like, and we did this in LA, and Repulsion fans in LA are rabid. It's amazing how rabid they are. Like you tend to hear that American shows aren't too crazy, you know, but like LA goes nuts for Repulsion. So, I mean, I had a bunch of friends there, and everyone was going nuts, and it's this great venue. And then we went to the Rainbow after, you know, and like act like Sunset Strip fucking rock stars. It was great. So there was that, and then we played the Observatory down in Orange County. And that was with, you know, Napalm Death and Muni Waste and Exhumed. And, you know, show up, and Repulsion had gotten me a guitar tech, and his name was Oscar Carrera, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be your guitar tech." And I'm like, "What?" and I was like, "Well, you know, like, I already put new strings on it, but sure, go ahead." You know, and he made sure that it was in tune and it was like ready for me to go, and he put stickers on my case like Marissa, Repulsion, like don't touch, you know, kind of thing. And so it was just like such a cool moment, you know. We did that, and then I feel like I'm forgetting something, but the next gig that really stands out in my mind is Decibel Magazine had their 100th issue come out, and then they put together a show for the 100th issue, and they had a bunch of bands come out to Philly and play in February of that year, 2013. Yeah. And so we went out to Philly and played this amazing club, you know, along with, you know, Municipal Waste and Converge, and I mean, it was an awesome show. It was an awesome show.
Heavyweight bands,
this big, beautiful venue. You know, Albert had all this beer, like he has friends in the beer industry out there, so they gave him a bunch of beer for it, and like, oh jeez, it was messy. But it was great. We played another gig. That's right. We played two other gigs, two Power of the Riff gigs, put on by the guys from Sun. Right. And so we played one at the Echo down in LA, and then we played another one in Brooklyn.
The Brooklyn Bazaar?
I'm sorry?
The Brooklyn Bazaar?
No, it was this like Czech, what do you call those? What was that place? It was like a hall that was like a club
in New York.
Yeah,
it was Polish, like
it was like a Polish
some
club for Polish people in the Polish neighborhood. I don't know what you call it, but it was like, you know, like they have veterans halls or whatnot. Like, it was like that. So it was part like restaurant and bar and part this big banquet hall with a huge stage. It was really interesting, but it was a great gig. I mean, it was super fun. I actually felt kind of tight at that show, which I kind of felt better at that show, I think, than some of the others that we had played.
Yeah.
Like I was really kind of getting in my groove at that point.
Oh, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
When you feel secure.
It was fun. It was really interesting.
Why I asked if it was the Brooklyn Bazaar, because when Burflesh played there, we all like, what the fuck, isn't that Fred Espy from Dismember doing the sound? Yeah, and it fucking was.
Yeah.
Like it was a weird place to see him, it's like,
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you still have plans to release any more Cretin stuff?
Not right now. We talk about it every now and then, but we're all pretty busy right now, and everybody's kind of like shelter in place anyway. And has been for the last 9 months because of COVID.
Yeah.
Cole's got a daughter. And his career. Widener has his career and all of his personal interests that he goes after, which are all very artistic and amazing. But and like I said, I've been focusing on my career more. Yeah. So we haven't been really trying to do anything. I did 2 albums with Extremity, a couple albums.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, just some like old school death metal stuff with Aesop Decker, from so many bands, right? Ludicra, and I'm totally pitching all this, Vol, and yeah. So why can't I remember the big band that he's really known for? Jeez, Agalloch. Jeez, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
Agalloch. Thank you. Losing my memory. That's been a big priority lately, apparently.
I do that all the time. The fucking blackout brain freeze, man. Especially band names and people names and years and maybe my own schedule. Everything.
Everything, yeah. That was embarrassing. Anyway, so we did an old school death metal thing for a bit there. And then that petered out, and shelter in place started and everything. So
yeah.
I don't know what else to say about that.
Enough.
Yeah.
on that Decibel tour, it was Napalm Death, Immolation, and Cannibal Corpse and Cretin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was your best drinking buddy?
Who was my best drinking buddy? Probably my husband. He and I go round for round, like, all the time.
Yeah.
The guys from Immolation don't drink, as far as I know. They definitely don't drink on tour. And Barney doesn't drink on tour.
Yeah.
So really it was like me, Liz, Leon, and my husband who would drink the most. So that was probably the tight-knit drinking group.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I remember having great conversations with both Bob and Ross from Immolation, particularly when we played up in Portland one night, and then Barney daily. We would, just have conversations, and it was really great. I felt really, really close to Barney in particular.
Yeah.
But we all actually had our merch booth next to the Immolation guys. So, I mean, every night, we were conversing too, and just kind of, there was good camaraderie there as well. So, yeah, it was a blast. And they really made you feel like you were part of the entire group that was touring, that there was some sort of family dynamic going on there, between Cannibal Corpse, Napalm Death, Immolation, just anyone who was on the tour package. And if you were on that tour package, you were part of that family. And it was really cool because, like, even, the manager of Cannibal Corpse was just like totally welcoming and,
Nice
made sure that we got our money and checked in constantly, let us know when we were running late and scolding us, but it was really cool because it was this outfit. We in Cretin just kind of had this like almost kind of we'll get to the gig when it's time to get to the gig, and we'll be there, we'll do it, we'll do our thing, like don't worry about it, and otherwise we were just kind of like on our own agenda. And we realized pretty quickly, like, no, this is a job, and there's an organization to it. And you need to be here at this time so you can load out at this time so you can get your stuff up on stage at this time, sound check at that time, and blah, 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 blah. We had all of that stuff, right? And we weren't used to it. So it took us a couple shows to get it wrong before we realized, like, no, we got to get this right. And then we were there on time, and we fell into, how the machine was pumping, and it was really cool. It was really neat. I'd never gotten to do anything like that before, so it was a great experience.
I have had the opportunity to meet Barney twice. The first time I won't even mention, it wasn't good at all. But the second time I actually interviewed him at Obscene Extreme.
Oh wow!
And what strikes me about that guy is like he can tell you a story and you understand the point in 10 seconds, and I would need like fucking 10 minutes to get to the point. But that guy is like, you can tell that he's a extremely decent and nice guy from the first time you meet him. He has his heart and his mind in the right place, and there's no doubt about it. It's just his whole persona, and you can even tell it like from the crowd, like just hearing his stage banter. I mean, he's just freaking awesome. What's your best experience with Barney Greenway?
Well, I've had a lot over the years. The first one, let me talk about the first one. The first one was, I get Decibel Magazine, and I have regularly since the beginning. And shortly after the issue came out that had me in it, introducing to the world, like, hey, here's our quote unquote first trans woman in death metal or extreme metal. Yeah. That issue came out, and a couple issues later, back then, there was letters from fans that were published within the magazine. And this one really, really, really supportive letter is printed in the magazine, right? Saying, I'm so stoked that you had a trans woman, in your magazine, and, positively portrayed the story, and completely support Marissa Martinez. Barney. Yes, that one. And it was freaking Barney who wrote into Decibel,
a fucking letter,
praising them and supporting me, and it just blew my mind. So,
oh shit! I actually got goosebumps right now. That's
right.
That's fucking awesome.
And initially, I was like, Barney knows who I am. Like, that is so bizarre, right? And so the next time I saw him, I can't remember if it was a local show or if it was at a death fest or something. But I made sure to go up and say hi to him and thank him for that. And it was really cool, and get a big hug and I totally support you. And so I would see him, every time that Napalm would come around and we would be at that show, I would go and say hi to Barney and whatnot. But then when we were on tour, we spent more time, obviously, on a daily basis, kind of, talking, or he'd show me this vegan, like, meal that he found up the street that he was really stoked on or whatnot.
I've just been eating a biscuit and it's all over my fucking face. Oh. Okay.
Yeah. But the last night of tour, we were hanging backstage, and I was drinking, and I think other people were getting high or whatnot, on weed, and just blowing off steam because it's the last night of tour and it was fun. But Barney and I started having a conversation about voting and the importance of voting and the importance of equal rights and justice for everyone. And it was really cool because obviously we were both pretty aligned with our ideals on equality and justice, and all of those social politics. But when it comes to voting, we have different ideas. And, you know, he's very anarchistic in his ideas when it comes to voting, that the system is fucked. And the only way to fix it is to not participate or to blow it up or whatnot. And we had this kind of, I hope I'm not getting that wrong, but this is what I remember, right? It was a few years ago. But we had this conversation, and basically it came down to me, you know, telling Barney pretty impassioned, I can't not vote, because if my rights are denied, it means they will kill me, right?
Yeah.
I will be imprisoned or killed or something, like something not good. My rights, I'm barely getting them as it is, so I can't not vote. I have to vote.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that's a good point. And, you know, I don't really remember how much more of the conversation went on, but like in my memory, like when it ended, he was like, you know, thanks for this conversation. It was a lot more, it was a lot more intricate than the conversations I'm used to having at a death metal show.
But I mean, that's the point of a good conversation, when you leave with something more, when you have learned something, like another person's perspective, just not two persons like clapping each other's backs and just agreeing on everything. I mean,
right?
So that's fucking good to hear. And I mean, I also think the system is fucked, but it's fucked in so many different ways in different countries. And I mean, I don't know if he talked about the English system, but I mean, to me it's so also typical American. When I think of democracies, like some old guy with a mustache saying, "People died for your right to vote." You know, I really don't feel that in Sweden. The same way. We have like different, how many parties there are in the government. I mean, we have like 7, 8, 9. You have 2. You know, it's such a big difference. It's a hard discussion we won't get into, but it's fucking awesome that he actually left the conversation, like learned something new. And I mean, if
you know, he didn't have to say that to me either. I think we both kind of were feeling pretty good, you know, like we weren't at each other's throats or anything by any means. Like I said, our ideals are pretty aligned. You know, so for him to like actually say like, hey, I had a good conversation, and I don't remember the exact words he said, but you know, it felt really good. Like it was like, yeah, that's what friendships are, right? That's so
exactly, like a good friend isn't that person that always you know, agrees with you and clap your back. They can actually give you like a new perspective, and you can learn something more about, not meant in a bad way or like something like that, but they actually want to share this with you because you know, yeah, I think we're aligned here as well. I'm not going to over-explain it. I'm going to edit it out. No.
Yeah, cut that. We hate each other.
I really, really enjoy talking to you so far. Nice fucking.
That will stick with me.
I think I had more questions about Cretin, but I think we can leave the topic. I mean, let's talk about the career, the Star Wars fan that you are. My girlfriend is fucking stoked that I'm talking to you tonight. It's morning for you. Good morning, by the way.
Yeah, how does today turn out? How did it go?
Oh, today was a shit day, if you ask me. Short.
Oh, no.
I've done. The worst part of being in a band is the travel, right? You fucking hate that. If it's cold and it's rainy, you have like beer on your pants and you know all this, and you haven't taken a shower. Now I'm talking about DIY tours, maybe not to the fancy ones you've been on. No, it's fuck me. No, but yeah, today was that day when you do all the packaging with the t-shirts and all the stuff that's gonna go out, and no, it's fucking take hours. I fucking hate it. But
that's the brutal part.
Yeah, but enough about that. I mean, I've been looking forward to this moment all day. I've been fucking stoked. I told all my friends, like, yeah, guess what I'm having tonight? Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Marissa Martinez. Yeah. No, wait. I just came up with it. The last Cretin question, before we're gonna leave it. You probably got it 100 fucking times. I know 2 songs with this topic. About gender reassignment. It's Daddy's Little Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in some way like your inner thoughts in some way came out in a... Yeah, tell me about the song. Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so people have always interpreted it that it was kind of like my confession to the scene or whatnot. Like this was my like pre-coming out message.
Yeah.
And you know, I was talking to Widener about it one day. I was like, you know, they keep saying that, but that's not true. Like I just wrote the song, you know. And he was like, yeah, but isn't it kind of true? Because you were thinking about these topics, like the way that you put out the phrases and the terms of what we were talking about in the song. He and I wrote the lyrics together, but I was like throwing out phrases and stuff that he had never heard of or thought about regarding trans people. And he was like, based on that alone, it kind of is your pre coming out tell. And I was like, all right, I see it. I see it now. Like I see it from that perspective, but it was never like that I methodically thought, hey, I'm going to hint to the world, with this song, like I'm going to queue up what's going to happen next, because I didn't, at that time, I didn't have an understanding or acceptance that I was trans. I didn't know that, right? I was just dealing with life and trying to go along in life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started going to therapy and whatnot. And it was actually couples therapy. And our therapist said, look, I can't help you two. You're not getting better with your marriage counseling. But I think you need to go, and he pointed at me, you need to go see a therapist who specializes in gender issues. And that's where it was like, oh, wow, right? The Freakery album had already been out. Or, Daddy's Little Girl at least had already been written. So,
yeah, what's the end line of that song? Saving money for your college education, and you rhyme it with...
Thinks I'm saving money for his college education. I plan to use the money for his sex change operation.
There we go.
There it is.
And he's not a sheet. I fucking can't remember, but yeah, it is. Yeah, it's fucking, yeah. Yeah. So sorry for interrupting.
Oh no problem. I mean, like that's it. Like really, it wasn't a planned confession by any means, but it was definitely ideas that were swimming around in my head. So yes and no.
Yeah. I mentioned 2 songs. I mean, the second one, that song fucking blows me away. It's I just get images in my head. It's you probably heard it. The band Cattle Decapitation, and their song Forced Gender Reassignment.
Right.
Like, holy shit! What the fuck? Yeah, I don't think we're gonna dig deeper into that, but yeah, that was the second song, and I mean, Cattle Decapitation. Do you like them, by the way?
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah. Totally agree. I would say it's one of the bands that I listened the most to. Their later records. Yeah, but STARWARS.
Okay.
So, what's your title at your work?
My title right now is Quality Assurance Lead, or QA Lead. And it's kind of, that title doesn't really encapsulate everything that I do for my job, but it's kind of the fallout from what the company kind of decided that they needed versus what my hiring manager at the time actually was hiring for and got. Like they had their own. So let's see, how do we do this? The company I work for right now is ILM X Lab. So we're a subdivision of ILM, which is Industrial Light and Magic, right? And they are a visual effects company that George Lucas started in order to make the original Star Wars movie way back when. Visual effects companies typically do not have quality assurance departments within them, and they don't really have a concept of what quality assurance is.
I don't have a concept of that, so tell me.
Okay, so quality assurance is basically a test group. Like, it's a group of professional people, testers who test your software or hardware or whatever your product is in methodical ways in order to identify everything that is broken or can be broken with the product. Right. And we write up bug reports, bugs. We write up bug reports to report bugs, those things that are wrong. And then the engineers or designers or whoever's in charge of fixing something can go and fix that thing. And then we test that they fixed it and it hasn't broken anything else. Right.
All right.
So, at the lowest level, you have testers who have anywhere from entry level to a higher understanding or experience of testing, right? And then above that, there's different hierarchies, but, basically you get to the lead quality assurance person who's kind of in charge of determining for that product, what should be tested when and how the testers should go about testing that stuff. And then as you get higher up, you might have, like a QA manager who's thinking about long-term goals and, resource management. And do I have enough to cover this product versus that other product? And what are the differences between those two products and how they should be tested and all of this strategy kind of stuff, right? That's really where I'm at. So even though my position is QA lead, because ILM doesn't really have a strong understanding of what a quality assurance group is or how it works, they were like, yeah, QA lead, that sounds like it falls in line with all of our other lead positions, like, animation lead or VFX lead, or, you know what I mean? Like, so that made sense to ILM. So they just gave me that title and I was like, all right, well, fine. But, when it came to when LucasArts existed, which it doesn't anymore, right? Disney closed it down in 2013.
Yeah.
But when LucasArts existed, they had a very strong understanding of what quality assurance is, because they're a games company, and games tends to have this culture of having quality assurance embedded and then even outsourced within their products, and it's within all their plans for every game. You want to have the game tested, otherwise it's going to be a mess and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of where my legacy is from, and that's where I came from. And so I'm bringing that now back to ILM after, like 6 years away, basically 6-7 years away. Because there was this Disney buy of Lucasfilm, and then they restructured things, and so there was layoffs that fell out of that. So I went and worked at another company for 6 years, and then this opportunity came up, and so I grabbed it because I've always felt that working at the Lucasfilm companies has just been my happy place and my home. Like the first day I walked in there, I was like, this is where I'm going to retire from. And that was LucasArts back in February 2000. So,
did you also was you also one of those kids that played like the first Star Wars games at Nintendo? I mean,
yeah, sure. I mean, my first Star Wars video game was the stand-up arcade game, right?
Huh?
With the vector graphics and the controller that has the 4 buttons. And
I think I saw something on Facebook about this. You have one of those consoles at home, the arcade games, right?
Yeah, they're new. So like this company called Arcade One Up started making these like 3/4 scale stand-up arcade games.
Right.
And I got the Star Wars one, which has the original Star Wars vector graphics game, Empire Strikes Back vector graphics game, and the old Return of the Jedi. Like it's not really a side scroller; it's kind of a diagonal scroller, I think. But and it has that controller. It's great. I love it.
So, did you ever get to meet George Lucas?
Yeah. I mean, a couple times I took the opportunity, right?
Holy shit.
I was with the company for over 20 years, and we would have company parties or whatnot, and you'd inevitably like cut him off in line going to get the buffet, or like, just find yourself standing next to him or whatnot, and then of course he's like stammer out some words, and it's very awkward, and there's no real stories to tell other than like
fan question or something like that.
You just can't even get to it. You know what I mean? You're like so like.
I love this since I wasn't born.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna tell him at this point? But I mean, because of George Lucas, I had the opportunity to go on a 20-year career. 13. It was interrupted, right? I had 13 years, and now I'm back the last couple of years. But I mean, just all of the career opportunities that have evolved out of that. My ability to transition and have a place that gave me income and shelter, in essence, to go through that whole process. Yeah. I mean, I owe a lot to George Lucas, not just, finding my favorite fiction to escape into,
Amazing. I mean, what that guy has built, I mean, I mean, how many people is employed because of those movies? I mean, we are talking about tens of thousands, right? It just has to be. I mean, the games, the movies, the merchandising.
Over the years,
it's fucking crazy what a huge machine that is.
Yeah.
Fucking George Lucas. Amazing. Did you watch the fan movie I sent you?
I started to, but I just haven't had the time to dig into an hour and 48 minute.
No, of course. Have you ever watched the fan movies of Star Wars?
I've seen a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, I come across them every now and then on YouTube and fall into a rabbit hole.
Yeah. What was your favorite one?
Geez, I don't have their names memorized. Two that stand out. One was like Darth Maul taking on a big group of Jedi out in a forest. That one was really cool. The choreography was really well done. What was his name? Star Wars Theory did a Darth Vader fanfic movie where he's kind of explaining Vader's thinking and the Emperor's attempt to control him while Vader wrestles with the death of Padme, and
also
I think something
the psychology behind it or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it was very much two people interacting on a set. It was all right though, I don't have much more beyond that.
No? If you can find yourself in one Star Wars character, who would that be?
Right now, I think it's Rey.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, Rey Skywalker is kind of my favorite right now. I mean, there's always been strong interpretation or strong heroic women in Star Wars, right? There always has been.
Yeah.
But initially it was one, And, you know, she was brash and whatnot, but she still pretty much was kind of, you know, playing second fiddle to the guys in the movie.
Yeah.
And then we get to Rey, and she's very much her own character. She wasn't overly sexualized, which I thought was really great. She has her own motivations. She has her skill sets, and she's really good at them. And some of them have to do with just like working with hardware, you know, like computer hardware, and like knowing how to like bypass compressors and working on starships and flying them, and you know, pulling apart ships in order to scavenge the pieces from them, and knowing which ones are worth money and not. I mean, like, it's very, that aligns with my thinking, because I started my career in hardware, like working on video cards. So I love that, and like I do a lot of troubleshooting, and so there's all that, as well as like the Force, lightsaber, Jedi awesomeness, right? So for me, like, Rey really speaks to me. Like, you know, could the story have gone a number of different ways? Yes. We got what we got, and I like it. And I love the character, and I really want to see more now that, you know, we see she has a yellow lightsaber. Nobody has that. Like,
yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, she's poised to usher in a new era of Jedi with a different kind of ethos than, you know, the old Republic Jedi, you know, under Yoda and whatnot. Like, where can it go? I don't know. And I honestly don't know. Like, I'm not making the news here. Like, I'm not privy to any insider, like, movies, canon information. And even if I was, I would probably avoid it just because I want to enjoy it when I first see it as much as I can.
Yeah.
There are moments where I can't, right? And then I'm like, oh, well, okay, I know that's coming. But I wouldn't talk about that either. So just to put it out there.
Tell me, how do you score a job like that? Like, yeah, how did that happen?
Well, I mean, it depends on which job, right? Like I said, there's like a 20-year legacy. But initially, I went to a trade school, which took about 1.5 years. And it taught me basically how not to be afraid of computers and how to troubleshoot them and put them together and take them apart. And from that school experience, I decided, hey, I really like graphics cards. And especially because 3D graphics cards had just become a new thing. So, like, you're just going into, it was like 98.
Yeah, like the early PlayStation days and all this.
Yeah. So I had decided that I really wanted to work for Diamond Multimedia and help test their graphics cards. And one of my classmates had a friend who was like the lead of the QA department. So I got to interview with him and, you know, have like kind of an inside, you know, recommendation. And I got the job. So I worked on that for a while, and then a job opened up. While I was working on that and building my skills, I was like, man, I wish I could turn this into somehow working for Star Wars. Like, whether it's ILM or whatnot, like, I wish I could, like, work on Star Wars testing stuff, right? And next thing I know, my stepdad contacted me, and he was like, yeah, one of my good friends' daughter is the head of human resources at LucasArts. And a new position just went on the market for a compatibility technician at LucasArts. Would you like me to put, you know, can you give me your resume and I'll put it in for you? And so that happened. But because of the skills that I had learned, you know, working at Diamond Multimedia and S3 Graphics, working on graphics cards and graphics testing, I was able to go into the Compatibility Lab at LucasArts and knock them dead, right? Because they'd never hired someone from the hardware industry into their hardware lab. So the Compatibility Lab, what it is you have PC games, right? and you have LucasArts making PC games. Well, in order to ensure that those games are going to run on all the PCs out there, you need some technicians, some testers who know how to put together PCs and can build them with different configurations and swap the parts in and out.
Yeah.
And set up the different OSs and play the game and make sure that it works on as many configurations as you can possibly get done within the time of development.
Yeah.
So that's what the Compatibility Lab was. So it was completely perfectly suited for what my career experience had been at that time. So I went and interviewed with them, and I think I kind of aced. I felt like I had aced that interview like more than probably anything in my life, and I got the job. So then I spent, a few years, probably 6 years in the Compatibility Lab, working my way up to different positions within the Compatibility Lab.
Yeah.
And through all of that learning and experience, like I had gotten into game engines and, editing tools to make games, level editors, they call them, and had some experience with those, as well as, things like 3D Studio Max and Maya and modeling and lighting and, playing with different aspects of all of the different things that make up a game, from hardware to all that stuff. And then a position opened up within LucasArts. They were going to start making a game called The Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
And we were building the engine internally, which meant we were going to build the level editor internally. And there was this big initiative at all the Lucasfilm companies at that time, because you have Lucasfilm, right? And then you have all the sister companies that fall out of that: ILM, LucasArts, Lucas Animation, whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
And there was this big initiative that we were going to do. We were going to share our tech across the companies, because up until that point, each individual company had been developing their own solutions, and it created a bunch of redundant products and wasted time.
Yeah.
So we were going to start sharing our stuff across the board. And so LucasArts had decided to take Xeno, which is the internal tool set that ILM has developed in order to make visual effects, and port it to Windows and turn it into a level editor for The Force Unleashed.
Xeno.
Yeah.
Xeno, isn't that the evil intergalactic lord in Scientology? I'm pretty sure about that.
Oh, Xenu. Right?
Xenu.
That's Xenu.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Like I said, LucasArts had a culture of having quality assurance. So LucasArts was like, all right, ILM, we'll use your tool and port it into our level editor, but we want a quality assurance group around that tool to test it and make sure that it's working, because ILM had never had that. So a job went up for that, and I went for it, and I got the job. And so it was me and another guy, and we started testing the tools for The Force Unleashed, the level editor. And it quickly became established that like I was kind of doing a bunch of lead work for that, like, tracking all the bugs and sending out reports and doing a little bit more than just testing this stuff, but organizing how we were going to test it and what the test plan should be and blah, blah, blah. So I got the lead position for that. And that's where I was for The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2. And after that, ILM said, hey, that QA group that you made for the tools worked so well. We want a QA group now. And so my group kind of got absorbed into ILM, and we started developing a quality assurance group for all of ILM's tools, which is incredibly hairy. Like, these things are really freaking complex. It's not the same as a game or a level editor. It's the scene graphs alone are just like mind blowing.
You get paid by finding like bugs in games, like more or less. If we just like simple it down, I mean, what ordinary people do for free for Windows. you actually get paid for LucasArts. So I mean, how fucking awesome is that?
Yeah. I mean, it's the dream job. I can't think of myself doing anything else. And when I had to do something else, I was like, oh man. Yeah. I know what to do, and I can go apply this to any other products out there, but I don't know what I want to do. Yeah. And this opportunity came up at Linden Lab, and I was just like, yeah, that works. That's cool. I'll go do that. But I didn't have the same passion for it as I did, working at LucasArts or working at a Lucasfilm company, ILMX Lab, and my interests lie. Like I love doing this stuff for Star Wars. I like other things. Like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla right now. In my spare time. I like other games, but for work and what I'm working on, it's like I like writing Cretin albums, but I'll play In Extremity or I'll play an Exhumed song or a Metallica song as well. You know what I mean? Like, but where's my passion? Oh, it's the Cretin stuff, right? So it's the same thing. It applies the same way.
I was actually going to ask you. Me myself, I'm a COD guy, Call of Duty, but I'm always like 6, 7, 8 years behind because I don't buy new games and new consoles. I just buy the old ones, and so right now I'm into like I can't even remember Black Ops and Ghosts. Cool games. Your favorite games of all time and your 3 favorite albums, like your go-to. What do they say? Desert Island albums.
Okay. Cool. My favorite video game of all time is that Star Wars stand-up vector graphics, old game from 1983. I love the Thief series, which was a PC game where you play as a thief in this like alternate kind of steampunky past, and you go around and act stealthy, and it's first person, and you steal things and use a bow and arrow in them. And then I really like the Assassin's Creed games. In particular, I like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was set in during the Peloponnesian Wars in ancient Greece.
Yeah.
And the character you play is Cassandra. I think she's this awesome hero and demigod, and it's just so fucking cool. Albums, it's easy. It's the old standard, right? Horrified by Repulsion.
I could guess that.
Symphonies of Sickness by Carcass. And this is where it gets a little tricky, is so either Terrorizer, World Downfall, which isn't a hard one, or Harmony Corruption by Napalm Death.
Yeah.
So not Scum and not,
No, but I can totally see why you choose Harmony Corruption before Mentally Murdered and Scum.
Yeah. I mean, it just, I think, I want to say Harmony Corruption was the first one I actually heard, and maybe that's kind of why, Yeah. But it's also got that death metal evolution to it that I just think is so cool for Napalm Death to go down. Yeah. I just really dig that album.
And then like the sound quality on that album is it's easier to understand than Scum and Mentally Murdered for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Even if you like nowadays, I don't really care about that anymore. It's more like the general feeling. I can listen to like demo recordings and I can see what it sound like if it was produced in a expensive fancy studio. It's just the general feeling about it. I generally try to keep these episodes to like 1 hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we are soon at 2 hours. I mean, I could probably talk to you forever. I would love to pick your brain even more, but let's do it at I don't know, show in California, Maryland Death Fest. Wherever we see each other, and hopefully we can see Cretin live as soon as this shit is over.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, but you guys are on for Maryland Death Fest, right? Are you still signed up on that?
Yeah, we're booked for next year. Hopefully, we are. We're on the what is called banner. We're on the bill.
Poster. The bill. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just have generally pessimistic view on next year as well. So it's better to see it as a happy gift, a good surprise. I don't like to bring myself down and just hoping for something good to happen, you know. That's why I have this podcast to like do cool shit while I can't do other cool shit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
totally.
But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me here today. It's fucking awesome to have you as a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to like just talk with you more because like, you know, like we've been saying throughout the whole thing, and like we've seen each other at gigs, you know, and we said hi last time, but you know, it's a lot cooler to be able to.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think I would be the guy you sat down and talked to for 2 hours at Scandinavia Death Fest. I mean, what the fuck? You would waste your time, believe me. My next guest is Dan Lilker from Nuclear Assault.
Oh, rad.
Yeah, I know you know him.
Yeah, and well, shit, I didn't even mention that we would spend out so much time in Stockholm together.
Yeah. If you would describe Dan Lilker with 3 words, what would that be?
Wow. Sharp, sarcastic.
Fy fan. Min vän kuken.
Really comfortable to be around. It's not one word. But you know what I mean? Like, there's no, he's there and you're there and it feels like everyone belongs there and conversations are had and you may not share the same opinions, but you're going to have a conversation. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Really cool for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
His wife is awesome too.
Heather.
Yeah, Heather.
Yeah. The manager of Nuclear Assault, I believe. I'm not sure.
That would make sense. Yeah. I never asked for her business card. Like we always just like kind of met and just went from there. You know, hi, how's it going? Okay.
I will probably find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So again.
Your next gig is tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow I have Dan Lilker. So stay here, but for the viewers, thanks a lot for watching and insert jingle here. Wheelmust.